Hello Ninjas, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our first Ninja sales meeting, and we really appreciate you being here. My name is Larry Kendall. I'm the author of Ninja Selling, and let's start with, what day is today? Well, of course, in the Ninja world, it's another day in paradise, and so we're very grateful for every day. Certainly today we're grateful. We have hundreds of Ninjas on this call, maybe thousands, because we're not sure how many of you are doing this in a watch party format, but the topic is sales meetings. And let me ask you this, have you ever been to a meeting that really sizzled? I mean, you walked out of there fired up. It was a combination of motivation, inspiration, education. You felt great. You know, one of my old friends, Ninja manager Joe Mullins, said one time, he says, "We know we had a great sales meeting when people hang around afterwards and are talking about it, and they're still talking about it the next day." You know, a typical sales meeting is about an hour. There's a combination of announcements, some property pitches, and then you have that really important, what I call the program. Usually it's 20 to 30 minutes, and that's really the key right there. And I think the key to a great sales meeting is having great takeaways. So in that 20 to 30 minute section on the program, or sometimes it's called the sermon, you really want to walk out of there with some takeaways. And that's our goal for you today, is to have some takeaways that you can walk out of here and you can put a deal together, or you can walk out of here and improve your life because of something that you learned. Let's start with a pop quiz. What are the 3 keys to your success? This is basic Ninja, core Ninja. Do you remember? One of the keys is your mindset, how you run your brain. Number 2 is your skill set. And number 3 are the actions that you take on a daily basis. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that 20 to 30 minute program section of a sales meeting. And we're going to cover these 3 areas, the 3 success keys: your mindset, your skill set, and your actions. Let's start with mindset. And we'll focus this time on Ninja success habit number 1. Do you remember that one? That's where we start each day with gratitude. Starting each day with gratitude does a couple of things for us. Number 1, it puts us in a positive energy state. That's very important, to start your day, positive energy. And the other thing is that nothing new can come into your life until you first give thanks for that which you already have. Have you ever heard the saying, what if you woke up today with only the things you gave thanks for yesterday? So we start every day with gratitude, and then the second thing we do is we do our affirmations, which are focused on a goal. So what is your gratitude for the day, and what is your goal for the day, or your goal for the week, or your goal for the year? If you're in a watch party, turn to a person next to you and say what you're grateful for and what your goal is. If you're by yourself, write it down. What is your gratitude today? What is your goal for the day? And then say it out loud. The latest research shows that when you say something out loud, it emphasizes it and magnifies it 40 to 70 times. So what is your gratitude for today? What is your goal? And say it out loud. Once we've done that, basically, we are practicing what's known as the gap and the gain. Have you read that book? It's incredible. I highly recommend it. And Ninja habit number 9, Ninja habit number 1 of the Ninja 9, we just did habit number 1, which is the gap and the gain. The gratitudes are the gain, the affirmations or the goals are the gap. So in the book, they talk about the importance of both of these. You know, it's the gap that gets us up in the morning. It's the rocket fuel. There's a difference between where we are and where we want to go. We have goals that we want to achieve. But at the same time, we need to give thanks for how far we've come. That's the gain. That's the gratitude part. And here's a suggestion for you. Do these each morning and each night. Now, I know many of you are doing them in the morning because that's part of the Ninja morning routine. But we would also recommend that just before you doze off at night, do your gap and the gain. What are you grateful for? And what are your goals? You see, in the morning when we do that consciously, our brain is processing information about 2,000 bits per second. But when we do it at night, right before we doze off, Our non-conscious is processing at 400 billion bits per second. And here's what we've learned. If you, right before you drop off to sleep, you focus on a goal, your brain overnight is operating at 400 billion bits per second to help you find ways to achieve that goal, how to manifest that goal. It's very, very powerful. And it's been used by some of the greatest minds, such as Thomas Edison, in the great inventor. So try that out. What we know is this, TSW, the system works when you work the system. So that's your mindset lesson for today. Let's talk about Skillset. One of the things I recommend is that you always go to a meeting with the idea of making a deal. Now, when we have a group setting, one of the things I'll do is I'll say, get in small groups and go around and share with each other what is the best deal you know about today. Now, that could be the best deal in a particular neighborhood, a particular type of property. So, for example, maybe golf course property or property on water. Maybe it's the best investment deal that you know about. Think about it this way. If you had unlimited money and you could buy the best investment deal today, which one would you buy? Which property on the golf course do you think is the best buy on a golf course today, or the best buy in a particular neighborhood? You should always know what you think is the best buy, the best deal. And then what I would recommend is you get in a group and you share with each other your best deals. And what I've found when you do that is transactions pop out. I learned this idea of what's the best deal you know about today from Robert Kiyosaki. You may know Robert from his famous Rich Dad, Poor Dad series of books. A lot of people don't know this, but Robert and his wife Kim used to live in Colorado. Robert became a good friend. And I remember one time Robert and Kim and my wife Pat and I, we were up in Vail. And we were walking around and we were up by the chairlifts and they were digging a trench and there was this ditch digger down in the trench covered in mud. We walked by and he yells out, Robert Kiyosaki, oh my God. He climbs up out of the trench all covered in mud to tell Robert Kiyosaki how much he loved his books and that he was playing the cash flow game. Robert was very impressed by that. I was too, that a ditch digger would know who Robert Kiyosaki is and would climb up out of the ditch to acknowledge him. A little bit later, we were in a real estate office. Robert wanted to look at some real estate, so I took him into a real estate office. I actually knew the agent that was on floor duty that day because he had been in a ninja class. And I said, I'd like for you to meet Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. Guess what? The agent didn't know who that was. Now, the ditch digger did, but the agent did. I was blown away by that. And we sat down. I says, Robert would like to talk about some real estate here in Vail. And the agent says, great, how can I help you? And Robert says, what's the best deal you have today? And the agent says, well, I just listed. And Robert says, I don't want to hear about your new listing. I want to hear what is the best deal today. And the agent drew a blank. And then Robert says, let me put it this way. If you had unlimited money, what would you buy today? Just that quick, a light bulb went off for the agent. He says, well, I would buy one of the lots over on Gore Creek. Robert says, why would you do that? He says, well, there's only 4 left, and I think this is the best one. I think it's a little bit underpriced. Robert says, let's go look at it. It was interesting how fast the conversation went once we focused on what is the best deal, or if you had the money, what would you buy? You should always know that. And then get in groups and share that, and you'll end up putting deals together. One of the biggest benefits of a sales meeting, especially a live sales meeting, is putting deals together, walking out of there with deals. Let's talk about buyers and sellers for a moment. You know, all real estate markets are local, and what we're seeing right now is a transition across the country. Some markets are still pretty hot, multiple offers, and so on. Pretty much the Northeast, the Midwest, a few spots on the West Coast. Other markets are starting to slow down, specifically the Sun Belt. If you look down in Florida, for example, those markets are slower. Let's say that you're in a slowing market and you have a listing that's not selling. We would like to offer you an unconventional negotiating tool. If you have a buyer that looks at that property more than once and they don't write a contract, write what we call a reverse offer, sometimes called a seller offer. All it is your normal real estate contract. Prepare that, but then have the seller sign it first and submit it to the buyer. Here's the dynamics of what we have found typically happens on a situation like this. You have a buyer who keeps looking at the property. They tend to be peace or perfection buyers, not always, but that's fairly common. They're smart. They know the property is overpriced, but because they're peace and perfection, they don't want to offend somebody by making a low offer. So they just keep looking at the property. They keep what we call circling the property. On the other hand, you have a seller. Many times they're a power or a party personality, and they know they've overpriced, but they want some bargaining room. And so they're saying to you, well, just get me an offer. Get me an offer. We can work the offer. But they don't get the offer because the buyer doesn't want to offend them with a low offer. And so when you see you have these dynamics, have the seller submit an offer to the buyer. We call it a reverse offer or a seller offer. Now, I was teaching this in a Ninja installation, and a hand went up and says, I just can't imagine doing that. And I was about ready to share with them the hundreds of properties we've sold that way with seller offers or reverse offers, when a hand flew up in the back, and it was Taylor Dye. And Taylor says, well, I just sold a $2.6 million listing that way. Now, it matters who says it. So rather than me tell the story, I said, Taylor, tell us the story. How did that work out? Well, this is Taylor's listing. It's priced at $2.8 million. It's in the outside of Fort Collins, Colorado. It's on an acreage property. And here's the dynamics. The same buyer looked at this house 6 times. 4 times they said they would be bringing an offer, but they never did. So Taylor calls the buyer's agent. He says, hey, what's happening with your buyer? The buyer's agent says, well, the buyer can't make the numbers work. Now, Taylor's a great ninja, so what does he say? Tell me more about that. What do you mean they can't make the numbers work? Let's drill down a little bit deeper. Well, the buyer is self-employed. They have plenty of income. They can qualify for a jumbo mortgage, but they don't have very much cash, and they feel the property is overpriced. So the seller wrote a reverse offer to the buyer, offering to sell at $2.725 million, $300,000 seller second. So the seller would carry a second mortgage at a really low interest rate of 3%. That got the buyer in the game. And they countered at $2.5 million. The seller went back at $2.685 million, and it was accepted. And Taylor was able to find a lender who would make that jumbo first mortgage, and the seller made that $300,000 second mortgage, and the contract closed. Now, when you look at this, there's certain things that I think were success keys. One of them was Taylor picking up the phone and calling the buyer's agent and having voice-to-voice communication. This idea of going back and forth on email or back and forth on text, one of the keys here is pick up the phone and find out what the deal. Hey, what's happening with your buyer? And then now you have the conversation, and Taylor says, well, tell me more about that. They go deeper, and all at once, Taylor realizes they really want to buy this house. Let's go back and offer them an offer. And what the seller's reverse offer did, it got the buyer in the game. Think about when a buyer receives an offer. Well, think about when a seller receives an offer, they feel obligated to do something, either accept the offer or counter. The same thing happens in the dynamics with a buyer. If you submit an offer to the buyer feels compelled to either, sign it or counter it. So it gets them in the game. I think this is a great tool, especially in those markets where you have maybe more difficult selling houses. You have maybe listings that have been left over that are maybe a little bit overpriced. Consider the seller's offer or the reverse offer. Let's talk about the actions that you could take this next week that would make a difference in your business. Let's talk about the Ninja 9, those 5 daily habits, 4 weekly habits. The 5 daily habits only take 15, 30 minutes a day. The 4 weekly habits take 2 to 4 hours a week. Let's do a pop quiz. We're all ninjas, right? Can you name the Ninja 9 in order? Well, if you're in a watch group, hopefully you can turn to each other and start rattling them off. If you're by yourself, take a piece of paper, see how you do. If you're a ninja, this is Core Ninja. You should know the Ninja 9, and you should know them in order. Okay, so here we go. 5 daily habits, your gratitudes and affirmations. Habit number 1, we should have got that one because we just did it earlier. Habit number 2 is to time block your day and your week and schedule your to-do list. Stay on your agenda, because your agenda for the morning when you first start out, that first 15 to 30 minutes is your Ninja 5. Write your personal notes, focus on your hot list, focus on your warm list. Then time block a time later in the week when you can do your 4 weekly habits. You can make your client service calls, your live real estate reviews, your 50 live interviews where you ask Ford questions, and then update your database and look for property matches. Your best business generators are habits 6, 7, and 8. Okay? So that's a review. Now we're going to focus on one of these. We focused on Ninja habit number 1 to start, which was our gratitudes and affirmations. Now we're going to focus on Ninja habit number 3, writing 2 personal notes each day. Personal notes are very powerful and are becoming more powerful because why? Fewer people are doing them. So we want to write 2 notes a day, 10 a week, about 500 a year. It will drive your business. It will make a difference in your business. But we're going to add to this one other tip for you. I was teaching a Ninja installation several years ago. We were on Ninja habit number 3. This young woman, Marissa, raises her hand and says, how do you feel about text messages? I said, tell me more about that. She says, well, I send 10 personalized text messages every day. And they're not blasts, they're personalized, sometimes with video. I said, well, how's that working out for you? Marissa says, well, I've been in the business 2 years, and so far I've done 100 transactions. That got my attention. 100 transactions your first 2 years in real estate? I said, maybe we should take a closer look at that. So what we would recommend that you add to Ninja habit number 3, in addition to your 2 notes, don't stop doing your notes, continue to do your notes, but add to it 10 personal text messages. Now, if you can't do 10, do what you can do. Do 2, do 5, do something, but try it out and see what happens. I did a Ninja action tip on this several months ago, and I got a phone call from Younie. Now, Corey is one of the top realtors, frankly, in the country. Corey does 60 to 70 transactions a year, just with himself and an assistant. He said, let's have lunch. We're having lunch. He says, you know, that action tip about the text messages, I started doing that. He says, I started doing 5 a day, and I've been doing it now for 10 days. So I've done 50 text messages so far. He says, do you want to hear my results? Sure. He said, 100% of those 50 people responded back, either with a text message or with a phone call or with a note. And he says, what was really amazing is 20% of them asked for a meeting. He said, it's the best thing that I've discovered, you know, and he's doing it. That would be an action tip for you to think about. It's working for Corey. I think it will work for you. So let's summarize this meeting so far. Number 1, the gap in the game. Not just in the morning, but also do habit number 1 right before you doze off at night. Give thanks and focus on your goal. Number 2, what is the best deal you know about right now in different market segments? Okay? Different neighborhoods, different types of properties, investment properties, and so on. Know that and share that with your partners, and you'll put deals together. Number 3, when you have that situation with a buyer circling a property, they keep looking at it, but not bringing an offer, pick up the phone, call the buyer's agent, find out what's going on, and submit a seller's offer, a reverse offer to them. And then finally, augment habit number 3, your 2 personal notes, with some individual personalized text messages. Let me ask you this. In this short 20 to 30 minute meeting we had today, what was, in one sentence, what is your best takeaway from this meeting? Write that down right now. What is your best takeaway? What did you get out of this meeting? Hopefully you got a lot. But what was the best thing? The thing that you will apply, the thing that you're going to do next. And if you're in a watch party format where there's other people, turn to the person next to you and share with each other. What were your best takeaways? In one sentence, what was your best takeaway from this meeting? Give you a minute to do that. Okay, what's the key now? Well, the key now is this next week is, I want to ask you this. Do you have the grit to do it? To stick with it? Right now, you're all fired up. Hopefully, this is a meeting that has sizzled for you. You've gotten some ideas. You say, wow, I can do this. These are great. I'm going to go out and start doing this. Well, the key is, will you do it? Do you have the grit? See, grit is the ability to carry through on a commitment after the motivation in which it was made has left you. The motivation is there right now. The question is later today or tomorrow, will you have the grit? And if you do, then you're truly a ninja. That's our meeting for this week. That's our meeting for this month. We're going to see how this goes. This was the first one. If you like it, please let us know. Put comments in the webinar. Let us know what you thought. What can we do to improve for next time? We're going to plan to do this the first Monday of every month. There will be a Ninja sales meeting. We hope you'll join us for the next one as well. Thank you.